The movie starts with two scenes of couples having sex. It's the last time the couples are going to be together in a while because both of the girls are leaving the country. The boyfriends of the girls are friends, and both promise not to cheat on them despite having plans of going to a party the same day the girls are leaving. They drive out of the airport and Julio smokes a cigarette while Tanich says he wanted to be a writer. They were in a traffic jam because there was a traffic accident on the way. A guy died because of a drunk driver. After that, they finally arrived at Tanich's house to smoke some joints. Saba, another friend of theirs, came as well. They went to the terrace so the smell doesn't alert Tanich's parents. Tanich's mother arrives but doesn't realize they are smoking. Tanich's dad is a politician, and his mother is a housemaid, which might seem a little crazy. She does esoteric stuff. That night they went to a party and got wasted with alcohol and drugs. They didn't have sex that night, only Saba, who had groups. 1 week later, Julio and Tanich were bored and went to a club that was empty on Mondays. They enjoyed the pool and had a race on it. They also fight in the bathroom. After that, they go to a party with a lot of politicians and rich people. Tanich's dad arrives and takes his drink out of his hand. Julio goes to the bar and orders a drink when she notices a girl he likes. Meanwhile, Tanich is having an argument with Alejandro, Jano, his cousin, who also wants to be a writer, and they piss each other out trying to state that one's a better writer than the other. Julio arrives and spills his drink. Tanich's dad gives a speech and thanks Mexico's president and his wife at the wedding. Later Julio and Tanich find the girl that Julio liked before and start seducing her, telling her to go out of there. They find out her name is Luisa, that she comes from Spain, and that she was Alejandro's wife. They mock her and end up having a drink and a cigarette together. They find out that Alejandro is leaving on business, and that she is staying home. Julio and Tanich take advantage and invite her to the beach, but she plays with them and rejects them. While her husband is on her business trip, Luisa goes to the doctor to do some tests, reads a magazine, and realizes she is not a fulfilled woman. That night, her husband calls her and confesses that he had slept with another woman. She cries and hangs up the phone. She leaves it unhung so that he won't call again. The other day, Luisa calls Tanich and asks him if they're still going to the beach. Tanich gets excited and calls Julio to say that the plan's on. They had said to her that they were going to go to Playa del Cielo, which means beach of the sky, a place that doesn't exist. Julio made an arrangement with her sister, a leader of demonstrations in the streets, to borrow her car for 5 days. They check some maps with their friend Saba and then go to Luisa's apartment, who's smoking a cigarette and waiting for them. We notice a lot of books and pictures in Luisa's room. It looks like she likes literature. After stopping at a gas station to get some groceries, the trio rides the car out of the city, and Luisa reveals that she is a dentist and that she always dreamt to travel a lot. Luisa seems a lot more comfortable with the two guys than how she was with her husband. We get to know that she was always uncomfortable at the dinners that her husband invited her to. Later that night, they arrived at a restaurant and the guys tell Luisa about their girlfriends, their sexual experiences, and other stuff. Luisa also speaks about her husband and reveals that he cheated on her. After that, they go to a hotel and stay in separate rooms. The guys go to spy on Luisa but she is crying. The next morning, it is Luisa who wakes up Tanich and Julio, and they start driving again to the beach. They smoke some joints and Luisa tells her that she knew when they were spying on her the night before. They stay on the road and all three of them talk about their sexual encounters. We get to see a lot of Mexico's countryside, full of cows, beautiful trees, weddings, warm and llanos. They keep talking about the sizes of the guys' about the time Luisa lost her virginity, about the time they lasted during They talk a lot about Suddenly, their car fails and they have to truck it to a town in the middle of nowhere. Luisa uses a payphone to call her husband and say goodbye to him. She reveals that she feels stuck with him, and tells him to take care. Later, at the hotel they're staying, Tanich finds out that Luisa is crying again. He comes into her room asking for shampoo, and Luisa tells him to take her towel off. She asks him to off in front of her and shows him her Then she does a blow. They kiss and then they have Tanich finishes fast. Julio saw them and felt like he had been stabbed. The two guys get into a pool to race as they do where they live. When they come out of the water, Julio says to Tanich that he had slept with Maria, his girlfriend. The dinner was tense between Luisa and the guys. Later that night, Tanich went into a rage, making Julio tell every detail of when he had sex with his girlfriend. The next day, they had the car repaired and started driving again. Luisa goes to the back room and starts kissing Julio. Tanich stops the car and gets away. Julio also finishes fast. After the event, Luisa gets dressed and goes where Tanich is and asks for his forgiveness. They start driving again, and Tanich confesses he had also slept with Julio's girlfriend. Julio stops the car and goes to punch Tanich, who stays inside. They both rage with Luisa gets out of the car and screams at both of them, saying all men are alike and that it didn't matter if they had slept with each other's girlfriends because they both come quick. She grabs her bags and leaves them on the road. Julio says that Tanich has to ask for forgiveness on his knees the same way as he did Julio kneel before. They pick up Julia and she states that she was in charge now and that she wasn't going to have sex with any of them. They keep driving and it was evident that they didn't know where they were. They got into a dirt road. The car got stranded in the sand. The next morning, Luisa woke up and found out that she was on a beautiful beach. She took her shoes off and got into the sea. Tanich was swimming, Luisa was taking the sun and Julio was drinking. Afterward, a boat came to the shore, and Jesus, Mabel, a couple of fishers, and their baby son came out of it. They cooked a meal and all of them ate. Jesus offered them a trip on the boat to the nearby beaches the next day, with the meals included. They find out that Boca del Cielo beach did exist. Maybe when Julio made up the story he remembered a place he read on a map or something. Mabel tells Luisa that she should have children while Jesus plays ball with Tanich and Julio. Later that day, the trio smokes a joint on the beach. They returned to where their car was and found out that an entire herd of pigs was eating in place. There were exactly 23 pigs. That night they stayed on a hotel, and Luisa called Jano again. She confesses that she knew about all the infidelities, not just this last time, but many times. Luisa says that she wants a warm goodbye, that they wouldn't be returning together, and that she loved him but not anymore. She said she was happy now. She hung up and cried a little. Later she had dinner and drinks with Julio and Tanich and says that she is lucky for having met them, despite them being assholes sometimes. They all make peace and drink a little more. Julio asks for Luisa's forgiveness for pushing her, and then Luisa mocks them because they don't know how to make love. They end up having a toast for the clitoris. Then for the Now, all drunk, Tanich and Julio revealed that they had been cheating with each other's girlfriends many times. They say they are milk brothers and toast for their girlfriends. Julio then says he had sex with Tanich's mother but says he was just mocking. Luisa goes to the bar and puts a song in the song machine. She drinks some tequila and dances to the tune. She starts dancing with both of them. Later they end up in the same room and do a Tanich and Julio also kiss during it. The next day, the guys wake up naked in the same bed and Tanich throws up. Julio says that he has to come back to the city because he has to return the car to her sister. Tanich also says that he wants to return to the city. Luisa says that she wanted to stay a few more days. Luisa said to them, before saying goodbye, that life is like a spuma. Both Tanich and Julio ended their relationships with their girlfriends when they arrived from Europe. After a few months, Tanich and Julio stopped seeing each other, and it wasn't until the next summer that they met again in the city. They had a cafe together. They spoke about their future and it wasn't so uncomfortable at the end. Tanich tells Julio that Luisa died. She had cancer. When she met the guys, she already knew she had cancer, and that she only had a few days to live. Tanich and Julio would never meet again.